Hello everyone, welcome back. I'm going to be sharing all of the historical romance books that I read back in the day that were not clean, and I'm going to share the authors. I don't have specific books to share because I remember some of them, but I don't want to like look them up and find them. So I know the authors though. So I'm going to share some authors, and then I'll also share authors that I've heard from other booktubers write very explicit content in their books, and I will never try their books even though they're very popular. Yeah, I made a clean historical romance recommendation video and I just had the idea to make a not clean version. I'm not sure how I'm going to title this because I don't want to say dirty, I don't want to say like spicy, because I don't want this to be a recommendation video. It's actually an anti-recommendation video. I'm kind of sharing like a bit of my reading history. After the Twilight era of grade 8, I was 13. So when I was 12, it was Babysitter's Club. 13, Twilight. 13, 14, 15, Twilight. But also 13, 14, 15. I somehow discovered historical romance. I went deep. So the author that I read like almost all of her books before I actually stopped is Johanna Lindsay. She has scarred me for life now. In our small little library in our small town, I read every single one of her books that our library had, and I even requested them to order some in because I was addicted to her books. It really was an addiction. And so yeah, I guess I'm just sharing that. Beware of these authors if you don't want to read explicit content. The problem with it is like the storylines I really enjoyed, and it is funny because I say like, oh, I don't like historical, but when it's like just purely a romance story that's like Regency or whatever kind of historical, it was mainly Regency that I read back then, and that's mainly what Johanna Lindsay writes. I like them because it's basically just romance and they wear pretty dresses. And so Johanna Lindsay, I read a lot of her books and they were very explicit. So I just read all of them and it wasn't good. So that was the start. And then I started reading Nora Roberts because she writes historical, but she also writes contemporary. And I was looking to broaden my horizons because I loved Johanna Lindsay's writing. So that's why I stuck with historical so much. But then I was getting bored, I think, of the historical. So then I went to Nora Roberts because she had a mix. And I mean, she had similarly good writing, but she was also very explicit in her content, and I will never read any more from Nora Roberts. I know that she is writing fantasy, I think, now. I would assume that it will also have some kind of thing in it. But yeah, would never read Nora Roberts either, even though she's very popular. She has lots of books. But yeah, those two authors were the authors that I read. I didn't actually branch out that much. I don't know. Yeah, those were the two that I liked. And I read a lot of their books. I'd be interested to know if you guys have ever read any of their books, what your experience is with that. I was between 13 to 15 that I read a lot of those kind of books. So it wasn't good, but you live and you learn, everything's okay. So yeah, I mean, that's it. Those are the two authors. So not that controversial, I guess, but there are 3 authors that I see a lot that are historical, and I'm sure there's way more than this, but these are the ones that I just always see, and their covers make me want to read them, but I just cannot. I will never. So the first one is Tessa Dare. Her books sound so good, and they're so pretty, and they just look like I would want to read them, but I know, okay, I know that they're not clean. And I've also heard from other booktubers that do read Tessa Dare's books. They talk about, basically they talk about the sexual chemistry of the characters in the book, and that's super red flag, would never read that. So yeah, she has quite a few books that just sound really cute and look really cute, but it's deceiving because yeah, the content is not good for me. Another one is Julia Quinn. I see her books all over the place. I think, is she the one who wrote Bridgerton? Bridgerton? Have you heard of that?
The show. I watched the show. It's really not good.
It's based on books.
I definitely skipped through it because I was traumatized by the men's butts.
I'm leaving that in. Yeah, Julia Quinn. So yeah, Bridgerton, I think. It's a full series, and I don't know if she has any other books, but I don't want like a good story to override this content for me. It might be similar to like swearing for other people that read. Like, once again, I should make the disclaimer, this is just for me. I'm not saying you should not read these authors, but this kind of content is very triggering for me, and I just cannot read it. Whereas language, I have a higher tolerance for language, but I basically have zero tolerance for anything explicit. So, right. So what I was saying is, I don't want like a good storyline, good writing, whatever, to be the reason I like overlook this explicit content, because I'm not overlooking it. I can't. When I'm physically reading it, I cannot. And then I can't even imagine listening to it. I've never tried an audiobook that is like that, and I never want to. So yeah, but with an actual book, I'm like, no, I'm reading it and it's there. I can't, once I'm in, it's really hard to stop. I've already like shared about that. I do have another video where I share like all of the explicit books that I've read kind of, and kind of anti-recommend them as well. I'll link that down below. It's called Romance Books That Are Not Clean, but this is specifically historical. And then the last author is Sarah Maclean. She has beautiful covers as well, and like, seriously, there's so many, I'm sure, like brilliant stories, really good like storylines and series and everything, beautiful covers, like talented authors in this genre that I just will never touch because of, I mean, my history with it, but then also I just, even now, I can't read any of that. So yeah, those are the authors I wanted to mention, and I guess I'm just like starting this discussion as well, like, you know, it's still there, it's still actively whatever, and I am interested to like really analyze where the line is, because it's kind of just a discernment in my spirit when I'm reading a book. I can read a book and it's like the Holy Spirit like gives me a radar, and if the radar starts beeping, I'm like, okay, you know, how long is this gonna go on? Should I continue? Whatever. And if the radar goes back down, then I'm like, okay, this is fine. But if the radar doesn't go away, I'm like, okay, probably should stop reading this. And I would almost be interested to just share books that walked the line but didn't cross it, because I'm still figuring out how strict I want to be with myself with those kind of books, because I still enjoy romance. Obviously, I read a lot of romance, and I like that like relationship dynamic. I like reading about it, and I like reading couples being physically affectionate to each other, except when it's sex. But when it feels close, when the descriptions feel like, okay, this feels, you know, like it's going to be leading to something, even if it doesn't, that language is still kind of triggering, you know? So I don't know, okay? On a journey, it's fine. But this is just another part of it that I thought about sharing. But honestly, and I used to watch like more romance booktubers that talk about like all kinds of romance and are not Christians and nothing to do with that. So I did like see I was exposed to a lot. And I never heard Johanna Lindsay be brought up. So I don't know if she's just like old now, and I think she's still alive, I think, and she still is making books, but she was writing in like the 80s and 90s, and I started reading her in the early 2000s, so I don't know, like, are her books not as good now? But like, I thought they were great. So I'm just surprised that not more people are talking about her books, but maybe, I don't know, I had a specific taste and that was it. Because I don't have any memory of any other authors other than her and Nora Roberts. So that's weird, right? But Anyway, she was the first one I tried, and then I loved her writing, so I just read all of her books, and she had a huge backlist, so there we go. Yeah, and again, this is not to shame anyone, like if you're whatever, like this is just like where I'm at, and I guess I'm very aware of all of this. I'm aware of what kind of books are out there and what I'm reading and what I'm drawn to. And I mean, really, like the Holy Spirit takes care of all of it. Everything's okay. But there are realities that I thought I would just share about me. So thank you for watching this, you guys. Again, anything you are thinking, feeling, whatever, anything you want to share about this topic, any authors that you have had experience with, any clean historical authors that you know of. I have heard actually on my last video, on my clean historical romance video, a lot of people did put recommendations down below, so I really appreciated that. And I don't think all of them were Christian, so yeah, I do try to find some non-Christian options, but it is really hard because the world is so like, I don't know, they want the explicitness. And what makes me so sad is like when you walk into a bookstore, like Chapters in Canada, and I'm assuming it happens in the States too at like Barnes & Noble, they'll have a table display for like spicy TikTok books and, you know, books like that. Like they have a whole table of books that will have sex in them, and this is why you want to pick them up. That just makes me so sad, you know? Like, why can't clean books be on display too? So anyway, it's very interesting the way this world has gone. We're very like obsessed with it, and I mean, it makes sense, I guess, but it does hurt us in the end. So yeah, thank you again for watching, you guys. And yeah, I think that's it. So I appreciate you. I'll leave some videos down below that kind of talk more about this topic and other videos that I've made about this, and I'll see you in the comments. Bye.